Cosplay is where you dress up in costume based on Japanese characters.
Not necessarily all the costumes are based off of anime characters. You can also do manga characters, video games, or other Japanese fashion inspirations.
We usually cosplay at Anime Boston, which is a Japanese animation convention, but there are conventions all over the world.
There's plenty to do at anime conventions besides cosplaying. There are panels that you can go to, there are concerts with Japanese bands, there's a dealer's room where you can buy merchandise.
There's Artist Alley.
There's Artist Alley.
Artist Alley is where cosplayer type people go and sell their own artistic things, drawings, etc.
There's an A&B contest.
Which is anime music videos, montages of anime series put to music.
There's the Masquerade and the Hall competition. The Masquerade is a competition for cosplayers to compete against other cosplayers.
To get in the Masquerade, all you really have to do is make your own costume, and it has to be based on something that's Japanese, so Japanese influence.
Our group has entered the Masquerade competition several times throughout the past years, and we've won awards for our craftsmanship.
We have won with Sailor Moon, Angel Sanctuary, Vampire Hunter D, and Kingdom Hearts.
Besides costumes and props, we also style our own wigs to mimic the characters we've chosen. We also do our own backgrounds for our skits and record our own audio and practice our performance before the show.
So I'm going to be working on recording the voices for our skit. The skit requires that the voices be pre-recorded ahead of time. That way everybody performs sounds good and clean. And for this we're using a really high quality mic. It's called a Blue Ball, and what's nice about it is that it just plugs in via USB and we don't have to worry about a lot, and it's suspended so you don't get a lot of background noise. I'm recording today the voice for a character called Squall. So the first thing I usually do is make sure we have the script, Audacity, which is our program for recording, and YouTube, of course. This way I can make sure I get his voices down correct. So I'm going to listen to a little bit of Squall first.
Oh. Are you all by yourself?
Yeah.
Then you can come with us. Let's look for our crystals together.
Why does this happen every time?
Why does this happen every time? It's kind of an emo guy. Thankfully he's got a raspy voice just like I do, so I don't have to do a whole lot of work. So we're going to work on that. So the first line I have to do here is sigh, why am I always the one getting stuck with these dumb assignments? So let's try this out. Okay. Why am I... I always screw up every now and then, so we just delete. Alright, let's try this one more time. Why am I always the one getting stuck with these dumb assignments? And let's see how that sounds. Why am I always the one getting stuck with these dumb assignments? I don't know. It takes quite a long time for us to figure out and develop the costumes and props, so we usually start about a year in advance to sort of figure out the concept, like what game or anime series it's going to come from, and then about 6 to 7 months before we actually go to the convention, we usually start working on things. We usually do like every weekend, every other weekend we'll get together and work on stuff. It's made out of actually 2 pieces, and I had to create a puzzle design in order to incorporate them together. This way they can hold, and then I'm gonna make the details here in the revolver part, which this is one of our props that we use, is a toy version of the same gun. And I need to now then make the 3D revolver piece that's going to go on top of this here. We're both in charge of making the weapons and props.
We split the jobs on the weapons between us. Joe works more on the technical aspect, and I work more on the artistic part.
It's exciting and fun to make the weapons, but it's much more exciting when we win, and definitely
see the finished product.
Yeah.
It's much more exciting.
In order to find out like what we make the weapons look like, we need to do a lot of research. So we find a lot of reference material online from various things, such as in-game still shots or drawings. This one we actually used a art book reference picture. Making the weapons is actually quite difficult. This one in particular we had to make twice because the first time we made it out of wood and clay, and it ended up weighing around 40 pounds. This one now weighs about 3 to 5 pounds. Pretty much everything is extremely tedious and stressful.
A lot of things had to be done more than once. A lot
Twice,
of things
3
took
times.
a lot of time, a lot of effort.
A lot of sanding, a lot of spackling. It wasn't until I guess we got close to the painting and the end of it when things started getting easier. Most of the weapons were made out of insulation foam, but we did make a few out of wood and utilized plexiglass for parts of them. Making them can be quite dangerous. You need to take lots of precaution to make sure you don't hurt yourself or other people. When carving it, you need to carve it in a well-ventilated area because when you're carving the insulation foam, you're allowing lots of fumes to escape. So you want to make sure you have a face mask and goggles. And then carving with the knife, you want to make sure that you're also being very careful with that as well. I've cut myself a number of times because trying to get into intricate areas is quite difficult. The other thing you need to take lots of consideration for is the paint. Lots of paints are toxic, so you need to do it outside. This particular paint here, the metallic paint, is actually quite dangerous due to the fact that it contains lots of bits of actual metal in the paint. So you need to do this in a very well-ventilated area, such as outside here on the roof, in order to protect yourself from that. When you're outside, then the other issue that you have to be concerned about is wind and having that blow all that paint everywhere else. So you need to take lots of precaution.
Making a bodice with some light and dark green stripes. Of course, this fabric doesn't exist in the real world unless I had designer access, which I don't. So I had to actually purchase 2 different shades of green and cut out the strips myself and stitch them up to then begin cutting out the actual style. So I'm pretty pumped because I just did it and it matches up in stripes, which is a good times.
So, I am putting the waistband on these awesome pants. That's my costume. And, yeah. The next costume our group is planning are from Final Fantasy, and we'll be competing at Anime Boston 2010.